Okay, so hello everybody. So while I'm cooking, we're gonna talk about the relationship between Bruce Lee and Yip Man and the training that Bruce Lee went through during the time of Yip Man. So stay tuned. At the same time, it's cooking with Cage. Alright, so what are we cooking today? Get our oil. There we go. So when we watch the movies, the usual thing we hear is that Bruce Lee trained under Yip Man, and that Yip Man did all these, got into all these fights, fighting for, people's rights, and that Bruce Lee was a big part in, I believe it's Yip Man 4. But we're gonna dig deeper into his whole training. So now I don't know if some of you actually look up Bruce Lee, but he was known to be kind of what's the best word to use? I don't want to say jerk, but Bruce Lee had his own character. So, and pardon me if I'm missing some of the facts, but Bruce Lee would get picked on when he was younger. So he wanted to learn how to fight. Here we go. So he wanted to learn how to fight, and he knew this one individual during that time that wouldn't lose fights. I believe his name was William Chang. Pardon me if I get his name wrong. So this individual, William, he trained under Yip Man and introduced Bruce Lee to the school they were training in. So now at the time, Bruce Lee was an actor as well. So he actually was doing a lot of things at the time. He was going to school, he was acting. He was young. I'm going to say, roughly between the ages of 9 and 11. Well, that's when he started training at the martial arts school of Yip Man. So now during this training, it's not clear that Yip Man himself was training Bruce Lee. Yeah, it was his school, but just like any other martial arts school, Bruce Lee was being trained by the senior students. And some of these senior students, that's where he got most of his training from. Now, one name that's gonna pop up a lot, somebody who is credited to also training Bruce Lee, being one of the main instructors, is I believe the name is Wong Shun. That's his name. Now, if you go on YouTube, you'll find some of his videos. They kind of look like old martial art movies. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I actually did not know much about this individual, Wong Shun, until I started doing some research. So William Chang and Wong Shun were probably the bigger fighters of the Yip Man school. So to cut a long story short, a lot of the other students that trained with in the Yip Man school didn't really like Bruce Lee, I think, for various reasons. One, Bruce Lee was known to be kind of cocky. Um, I believe he would find ways so that he could get more of the training versus his other martial art brothers. Because Bruce Lee's main focus was to develop, get the fighting application of the martial art. Again, nothing wrong with that, but his main concern was to become a better fighter. Now, some of these students there, they would learn most likely the philosophies of martial arts, the ideals. So it wasn't just about the fighting, but with Bruce Lee, it was just about the fighting. So at some point, um, you'll hear that Bruce Lee was kicked out of Yip Man school, but in reality, it was more like he was moved to another training area, where I believe he did get some training from Yip Man. But the reason why Yip Man is credited for the trainer Bruce Lee was because it was his style. Now, one thing you gotta know about Yip Man is that he did bring Wing Chun, the awareness of Wing Chun to, uh, brought out to like more individuals to learn. Now, Bruce Lee wasn't um, full Chinese. He was a mixed race. So some say he had some German in him, Caucasian from his mother's side, even from the far side. I think some other mixed race as well. So that didn't go too well with when a lot of individuals found out about Bruce Lee. But regardless, Yip Man did bring awareness to Wing Chun. Wing Chun before was more of a guarded secret, kind of like how you hear about ninjas, ninjutsu, ninpo, where it's like a family secret. Wing Chun and, like, for example, Tai Chi, you hear they're more integrated within their own family. But with Yip Man, it was more open now to be taught. So in reality, he did learn from the style of Yip Man, but there's not much said that he learned directly under him. I'm assuming that they probably did have a few one-on-ones. I mean, Bruce Lee was fairly wealthy from his acting career that he could pay for private classes. But one thing that the majority agree upon is that a lot of his training for Bruce Lee's fights back then was from this individual, Wong Shun. He was, you could say, the badass of the fighters. A lot of the fighting 10 people, like in the Chinese Connection or in the classic Yip Man versus 10 people, mainly came from Wong Shun. He was a big influence, and obviously he was an active student of the martial arts. So he was the one who was in so many fights, hundreds of fights. Now remember, Bruce Lee was an actor. He couldn't risk injuring his face with fights, even though we know Bruce Lee as a top-notch fighter, a genius in the martial arts. His job was still an actor. He had to take care of himself. So a lot of these stories that come from fighting multiple opponents, using a Wing Chun for battle, being a highly effective fighter, going hands-on with Bruce Lee and training Bruce Lee for fights that he was going to encounter. Wong Shun was a huge influence, and Wong Shun was a student of Yip Man. But a lot of the training was between them, which is nothing unusual. In most martial arts schools, you're not going to be toe-to-toe with the martial arts teacher. You're going to be with their advanced students. Back when I practiced with my martial arts teacher, being an advanced student, we didn't have our white sashes or our yellow sashes fight our teacher. That he would probably demonstrate a move here and there, showing the application. But during sparring time, it was mainly us advanced students fighting the beginner students, so to see what they need. So we'd be the ones touching hands with the younger students, the ones moving up and advancing. During the tests, we'd be the ones sparring with them, since we already have a level of control with our fighting. Then they know they're in good hands. Even though they're gonna get attacked, they're gonna get hit, they're gonna have to block, they're gonna have to dodge. they're not gonna get completely hurt, just to the point where they forcefully gotta defend themselves. But at the same time, you wouldn't really hear the kung fu master go and spar with the younger crowd. A lot of times when we would touch hands with our teacher, it'd be because he's making sure we learn the application the correct way. So it's not unheard of that Yip Man didn't really touch hands with Bruce Lee as much as we think he did. And if you watch Yip Man 4, you don't really see Yip Man training Bruce Lee. A lot of the scenes are where they're usually talking. The famous scene with the cigarette and the water. But yeah, Bruce Lee got most of his training from Wong Chun Lung. And again, Bruce Lee's Wing Chun was not the main style used in his philosophy of the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Bruce Lee was a genius in martial arts, so he got what worked for from Wing Chun and applied it to his own style. There you go, look at that. There you go. You better kind of slow cook it a bit. That way you don't burn the surface. So that's what it looks like right now. I know most of you are thinking, you know, probably better to use a grill, but you know, this gets the job done. So, anyways, back to Bruce Lee and Yip Man. So we don't hear, and I say his name more often just in case you want to look him up. Wong Chun Lung. You don't hear a lot from him, but he is credited for being one of the main instructors for Bruce Lee. And even there's letters where Bruce Lee himself has said that even though I'm a student of Yip Man, a lot of my fighting concepts, a lot of my training came from you. So now, Yip Man has his own story. He has his own training, his own upbringing. That's a whole nother video right there. That's a whole nother life right there. But from Bruce Lee to Yip Man to his own style of Jeet Kune Do, where he leaves to America, you know, Wing Chun was the basis, but not the final product of Jeet Kune Do. I mean, in my opinion, when I see Jeet Kune Do practitioners, the Wing Chun I see in it is usually comes surprisingly during a fight. You see more because Wing Chun does have direct hits, but when it comes to Jeet Kune Do, you know, you see a lot of the front arm, the front leg. You look at movements that are highly effective, and if you see my past videos, when I talk about Jeet Kune Do, I don't talk about it as a style. I talk about it as a philosophy you can use as a catalyst for other martial arts. And if you want, you can look for that video. I believe it's titled Does Jeet Kune Do Really Work? Or is Jeet Kune Do really a martial art? That's the title of the video, where I explain my thoughts about it. But for now, yeah, that's the history between Yip Man and Bruce Lee. And there are stories where Bruce Lee would go back to Hong Kong to visit Yip Man. And we do see him in pictures. We do see him do some hand-to-hand, you know, tutelage there. But yeah, with it kind of investigating the past of Bruce Lee's training, the name you want to look for is Wong Chun Lung. The man you see in the Yip Man movies fighting 10 people and so on usually leans more towards the life of Wong Chun Lung. So look him up. See how he integrates in the whole life of Bruce Lee and Yip Man. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm actually looking at this right here on the side. You see right there. So I myself don't know too much of Wong Chun Lung, aside from the fact that he was one of the main trainers for Bruce Lee. So I kind of want to have an idea of his fighting style. I want to see how he uses the Wing Chun, you know, for efficiency. Again, this is a little bit of a choppy history, but This is my opinion so far. Maybe in the future I'll make another one where I have even more details, but just like all you other fellow martial arts out there, I'm learning as I go. What I do know, you'll see me do it in these videos. What I don't know, I'll learn and I'll share my opinion. Alright everybody, it's not the finished product yet, but here's what we got. This was Cooking with Cage. Have a great night everybody.